Welcome to Season 5 of the Manufacturers Network. Real talk with the people building what's next in manufacturing. And now your host, Lisa Ryan.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. Excited to introduce our guest today, Samantha Kaye Harris. Samantha is a power, voice, and self-trust authority who spent 27 plus years in structural maintenance leadership at a major international airport, leading a team of 100 plus in one of the most male-dominated environments there is. She now helps women in manufacturing, the trades, and industry own their voice, stay in the room, and get paid for the value they bring. So Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
So share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do.
Okay. I was in structural maintenance. I worked at JFK Airport, and I did that for 27 plus years. How did I do that? I started off as a GM, meaning that I worked with the structural mechanics and I assisted. So I was a helper. In trades, I was a helper. I helped them build, construct. I was in paving. I was in roofing. I did it all. And during my tenure at the company that I worked for, I grew in the company and I became a supervisor and I led teams. I led teams of 100 plus people daily. But I noticed there wasn't a lot of women coming in. But when they did come in, some left, some weren't comfortable, some became quiet, or they only wanted to talk to me. And I realized that they weren't allowing themselves to be seen and to be heard. And I know for a fact it happens because it happened to me. So I decided to help women in the trades and manufacturing, any job that is male dominated, because the patriarchal system has taught us how to show up unconsciously. And for us to fully show up, to use our voices, to be good leaders, I knew that I needed to help other women do it.
And the interesting thing is within my speaking engagements, and I'm sure the audience for Manufacturers Network is probably primarily male dominated, or as my one girlfriend says, aren't they all?
That is true.
But if we're looking at the workforce shortage and looking at non-traditional opportunities to bring people in, especially women and people of color and people from the prison system and just all these other resources that we have. But when you've been stuck in this pattern for so long, you don't always know what to do or how to handle it when you have people who are different from you. So from your experience, what is the successful ways that when you do bring women into your manufacturing plant, that you can make the transition to successfully keep them?
What I've learned over time was that women needed to feel safe. And feeling safe meant being able to step into any environment and trusting that what you're doing, what you're saying, what you feel is right. That's where the safety comes. And that's when it started turning around. When women knew that, hey, I show up, Samantha, and I'm able and I'm capable. It doesn't matter what the men are saying, what they're doing, as long as I'm here and I'm doing the best that I can stay here. They understand that their voice isn't just saying, hey, I can do it, but validating what has happened, what has been said that bothered them. Being able to have that place where they can feel free. Having community. Having that one person that understands them, not, I get what you're saying, and maybe if you do it this way, wanting them to change and to become something else. Women being able to feel safe, show up, use their voice to ask for what they want and to say what the problem is. That allowed more women to stay.
It's interesting because I see a lot of the manufacturing associations that I speak in starting to have more of the women in events. And it almost seems like they start off like, I know, let's have a happy hour that the girls can come to and meet. And then they're like, holy crap, look at all of them that showed up. And then the next time it grows and grows. Women in manufacturing, I remember when I spoke there in 2019, there was maybe 500 people there. I believe last year's event, they had over 2,500 women coming together. And I remember when I was in the welding industry, I didn't have any of that. I would have loved to have those type of resources around because, again, like you said, to find people who are doing what you do, to understand, to bring in more people so they do feel safe. And it's that psychological safety that they are being heard in the workplace.
That is so important. Women don't want to be pacified. And I
Right.
believe women in manufacturing, women in industry that is male dominant where they're only one or first, they need that community. Because if they don't have it, then they're looking around, looking for someone else to validate them. When you're around other women who are doing it and get what you're doing and understand it, that's when the game changes. That's when your
Right.
mindset shifts to, I don't have to perform. I could just be
Mhm.
here. And a lot of times, that's what women see when they're not in community. They see that they have to be a little different. They have to become what everyone else thinks they should be instead of who they are. That's the
Right.
difference in community when, like you said, it grew from 500 to 2,500. You know how many women then could see and could connect and didn't feel that they were being pacified? Even
Right.
if things happened when they passed over or talked over, it's a conversation which you can have in community where they get it and you're not overreacting. You're too much, as I was called one time, animated.
Which we find out is not necessarily a compliment.
It definitely wasn't a compliment from them, but thank goodness over time I've learned that their opinions and thoughts of me was really like a superpower because they were afraid of that. It had nothing to do with me.
That's so funny. I remember when I spoke for women of HVAC, and there was 475 women there, from master plumbers to apprentices, all over the place. And how many times you would have a more mature woman who was a master plumber bringing her 18-year-old boy intern on an interview to a job site with her, and the person would be talking to this boy instead of to the woman. So it's just really, I guess, being recognized. And the other thing that I like about the women in events at associations is then they can see who each other are instead of being mistaken for a spouse, like
Yes.
most of the time that they are.
Women are that immediately they see the man. So of course that's who they want to talk to. It's society. It's society. It's some societal norms that have taught us this. But like you said, when we can put faces to it and we have that connection, now you know this woman is an amazing woman who can do different than any other person. And it gives hope to everyone else around them.
Yeah. So what does it actually cost a manufacturing plant when women go silent on the job? You mentioned silence before.
Oh, when they go silent, that means that a woman is going to leave. And or they're making a decision if they're going to continue to work as hard or to produce as hard. Because they give us this patch and they put it on us and they say that we're resilient and we show up, we give all that we can, and we overproduce. So when we're silent, it costs the company, the employee, this employee that they have put time into, that they've invested training, OSHA training, not just skill training, but now they may lose this woman. And losing this woman means that now you have to rehire, retrain, reacclimate this person. And if they have projects going on and the woman is the leader of these projects, now you have to find a new leader, meaning your projects are pushed back. So there's
Yeah.
so much more that they just the person that they're losing a skilled human that shows up every day and gives 100%. Because this is what she loves. And women work differently. We show up differently and we're more passionate about everything that we do when we love it. And the company loses, it is 3 times the salary of the one person that they lose when they have to replace that woman.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your work, you talk about something, the fear cycle. So what exactly is the fear cycle and how does it show up on the shop floor?
On the shop floor, when women are working, let me go back because I was going fast. I get excited about this fear cycle. The fear cycle is what happens when a woman is on a job and she does not feel safe and she feels disconnected and almost to the point where she's resistant of being part of that job anymore. So that fear is her arriving at a job. That's the first part of it. And when she arrives at the job, let me slow down and pull it back. She starts to perform, overperform, and they give her that patch of resilience because someone may be taking a job from her. They may give it the promotion to a man instead of giving it to her because they golf together. Even though we don't say these things out loud, these are the things that happen. Or they have a drink after work. She's being tested every day, asking if she's capable. Are you sure? I can remember being asked, and I'm the leader, and I have so many darker reports. And their favorite thing was to ask me, Samantha, are you sure? Or they'll ask another supervisor when they woke up. So that fear of being tested, calculated everything, your emotions. Don't have a bad day and be angry. Don't say anything. Now they're calculating that. All of these are part of the fear cycle. And because you're afraid, you get quiet. I talked about that before. And being quiet, not saying anything. Because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you'd rather not.
Yeah.
And then you begin to hide. You no longer show up fully. That means you're preparing before you even get out the car. What corner you're going in, what work you're going to do, how much you're going to talk. So now you're upon this hamster wheel in your mind of preparing yourself. So not to be seen, not to be heard because you're tired and you're exhausted from everything else that's going on. And the fear, then you leave. You choose not to stay. You feel trapped because of your paycheck. But then you push and you leave. And what people love to tell us as women, build your own table.
Okay.
But I say stay because if we all leave, when are we ever going to be at the table?
Yeah, and then you've mentioned safety quite a bit. So how does psychological safety connect to physical safety in these types of manufacturing environments?
If you're working around equipment, you're working on shop floors, you're working on job sites, you have to be mentally prepared to stay. You have to be mentally prepared when you go in. Yes, you know that you're going to put on safety vests, hard hats, all the things, the equipment that's needed and necessary. But when your mind is on other things, you're not concentrating on the one thing that's the most important thing, going home the same way you came in. So psychologically, if you're not feeling safe emotionally, that you're being torn down before you even get there, that you're being questioned, it doesn't allow you to stay. It doesn't allow you to have the conversations, to ask for the raises, to put in for promotions, to say to yourself that I am still qualified. You disqualify yourself mentally before you can even get out and get into the field and to properly show your capabilities.
Yeah, and we also look at things like from a physical safety standpoint of kind of making sure your PPE fits your female employees correctly. A lot of times we buy things that are all one size that were made for the male body and they just don't fit. So we want to physically take care of our employees, just making sure that they do have the equipment and the PPE that they need to be physically safe. But then again, that psychological safety is almost more important because I want to feel safe to say to give my opinion, to say what I feel, to share my ideas without the are you sure or getting a second opinion from somebody else because you're not taken seriously, of just listening. And when we're having this conversation, I think about the new generation coming into the workplace. If these guys think that women think differently, wait till they Gen Z coming into the workplace.
Their mind, they think different. Gen Z thinks different than any other generation, and they don't have a problem voicing their opinions and asking for what they want. And I don't want it to be silenced at all, because that's going to be the change that is necessary for these environments.
Yeah.
But I think when we talking about safety, the psychological is so important, because being able to ask for what you want, because I was the safety coordinator at the job that I retired from. It meant so much to the women to see someone else that understood and got them. So it's always important to have a woman in the mix of these environments. Because now this woman can say, hey, like you said, the safety vest is too big. Every woman doesn't fit in every one size fits all. Hey, I need a new safety vest, without them laughing. Oh, you're not using it anyway. Because men have a way of making you feel less than, even though you're showing up every day, because they're uncomfortable with you on a job. So if you have someone that they can go to and they're comfortable saying these things, women perform differently. I know I did. And I know the women that work for me did also.
So what are some of the things that leaders can do right now to make it safer for women to speak up?
Listening to these conversations like you and I are having, and understanding that just because a woman comes into a job doesn't mean that she's just coming because she wants the paycheck. Yes, we all want paychecks. We all want to be paid. But understanding that she brings value to the job that she came. She didn't just come in there to, how some men say, to look pretty. That's one of the things that just taps on my nerves, for them to understand. It does. The things that you hear, and that that there is a difference between what happens on the shop floor, what happens on a work site, than what happens in an office with HR. It's a different understanding between the two. There has to be a different understanding that it's two different things that are happening, where they'll allow a woman to lift something heavier, or they'll, even though it's in your job description, two men could do it together, but to prove who they are, that everything, they have to understand that they have to ask different questions so women can feel safe. They have to understand that there is a line that's drawn, and they can't always go and take the exact conversation that the woman had back, because the men can figure out exactly what's happening. They know, and then they single these women out. And that's when your safety problems start. So having more conversations, having a safety person that is a female, that's not from HR, that has done the work that these women have done, that get them, understand them, and respect what they're doing. That's a game changer that companies can do.
Yeah. And what does it look like when a woman finally stops hiding and owns her space at work?
Ooh, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, companies benefit so much, because now this woman is using her voice. She's being honest and open about what can improve the company. And because she has the seat at the table and she's able to convey what's needed, the company is growing. Now she's going for positions. She's bringing other qualified women that now help your company become on the map, not just as a good company with good benefits or good pay, but ones that accept women and treat them with respect. Now you have a different company altogether. And it's not about taking jobs from anyone. It's allowing your skilled professionals to be in places where that they can thrive. And this helps the company. Now your productivity is double, triple, and not because she's overproving and she's tired, but because she is doing it and doing it willingly, and so is the team. Your teams are better. They're stronger. They're communicating. Your floor is just more moving like a machine, but with happy employees.
Yeah, and it's one of those things of, we've all heard it before. You can have a very strong man and he's just a strong, powerful man, but you have a strong, opinionated woman, and we all know the B word that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So being equally okay with strong people and strong opinions of both sexes and not looking at it. And that's a stereotype that's been around since the beginning of time, and it's not going away anytime soon. But I think that if we can just take a moment and step back and saying, am I really listening to this person's opinion, or am I being off put because it's not the tone or the way that I'm expecting to hear it from this woman?
That's the thing. Everyone has all these expectations from someone else. And where did they get these expectations? This comes from traditions, from their homes, from their culture. But we have to strip away some of that. And that's why these open conversations, and that's part of what HR does not do. It doesn't recognize that all these belief systems are on the shop floor. And they need to normalize having these open conversations so that people can understand cultural differences and now understand that a tone does not define a person. A look or a finger point, because some cultures you can't point a finger. Hey, go over there and do that. That's an insult. So understanding each other better allows for better communication, which allows for better shops to be run. It's, to me, understanding that and having is going to change society, changes your work environment, changes the people. But we can't be afraid to do it. Everything is fear of. And because society has told us that men lead, men tell us what to do, we unconsciously believe that, some women, until they're in these positions where they have to speak up. And then they're afraid, and learning that fear is controlling them and not allowing them to get ahead is what's causing the atmosphere to change in these environments. So because they believe a woman may speak too much, or she talks too little, or her voice is squeaky, that should not define her work behavior, her work ethic, her work in general. It's more about what she's capable of bringing to this position and how the job is growing because she is in it.
Yeah. So what's the one thing that you see that organizations get wrong about retaining women in the trades beyond, we've talked a lot about that, but is there anything that we missed?
I think I've talked about it before, but the companies miss that these women want to be there. These
Yes.
women, everyone has this preconceived notion that, oh, women are given opportunities. First of all, we aren't given anything. We've earned it. We walked into it. We're more than qualified because we know what can be on the opposite side. And that's what companies need to understand, that these women deserve to be there because they've earned their spot. They're not just there to check a box. I've been told, Samantha, you just got the job because you check both boxes, because you Black and you're a woman. I think that's the most insulting thing.
Well, yeah.
Not that I was qualified, not that I did all the things. And that's what these companies need to recognize, that these women are there because they choose to, and that they bring value to your job, and that you should do everything to retain them, because if not, you will lose your qualified women. And if they go to another company or to a competitor, that's your loss in the next company who will see them.
Yeah. When I think about with these manufacturing plants really realizing that college isn't for everybody, and finding people who want to work with their hands and all that. And women are the same way. I remember in high school, I actually took wood shop and metal shop because number one, I had no interest in home ec, but that's always the way that I was wired. I played in my dad's wood shop with him. I liked metal. I went into the welding industry. And I remember I would make some sales calls. I was about 10% of the sales force at that time were women. And there was one particular plant that I would call on regularly. I would just cold call them. And the maintenance guy, the maintenance manager, would literally go out the back door because no damn woman should be in the welding industry. And this is 20 years ago. And I have these conversations, and for some, it hasn't changed a whole lot. But having those conversations, and like you just said so beautifully, we're there because we want to be there. when I'm in front of a manufacturing audience, it's just because it's like, I love that. I respect it. I want to be a part of the trades and the manufacturers that make everything that we see in the whole world. And being a part of that and realizing that we have every bit as much skill, talent, and the opportunities to be there.
We too. And I loved what you said because we do choose to be there. Like you, for me, home ec, I like all of those things. But at the end, being in a classroom was not my thing. And I didn't realize it until I was an adult. And the company that I worked for, they offered training. They put you in a class in school to train you how to be how to be a general maintainer. That was the title. How to pave, how to put up sheetrock. And I love that. I love being part of that. And I took pride in being able to lay concrete better than any man that was there. I was the person being called upon to make sure that it was done right. So if companies even understand a little bit of the pride that we put into doing what we do, they would make sure that we felt safe by having, and I know everything costs, and I know companies have this way of saying, oh, that would be too much, to have maybe a phone call, a coach or a counselor or something for when things arise that someone can talk to so that they feel safe, because men have not changed. Yes, we're entering in these industries as women, but the men aren't changing. They're not educated. You give them as many classes on the computer to take so that they check the box that the company needs so they can say that the men were trained, but they still do it different when they're on the field. They still show up different. They still insult, have the backhanded conversations, the jokes that make women feel uncomfortable. And if a woman doesn't understand that they have the right to give it back, they're going to feel insulted because it still happens. I recently retired and I had one guy on the job still saying, younger than me, by 10 years, women don't belong in this work. It'll be good when you leave. This is what they're saying.
Yeah.
But you still come to me and need my help to get it done. But it would be better without me. So generations that haven't changed because all of this garbage is being passed down from people in the company and at home. So it continues to come in. So we have to combat it some way by making the women stronger.
Yeah. I think when I was in the welding industry again, because I was cold calling and all that kind of stuff anyway. And I think a lot of time they would give me the appointment because I was a girl and they wanted to see what I look like. But when they saw that I could weld a better bead than most of them, it was immediate respect. And that's the one thing that I like. But you've mentioned it a couple times. We have to work harder to get that respect, like working almost twice as hard to prove ourselves to even get that seat at the table before people will take us seriously. And they took me seriously when they saw that I could weld. And I wasn't just there to flirt and take orders, but actually I wasn't there to flirt at all because I was married.
You just love what you do. Yeah, and love what you do. And I can't, but the mindset is insane to me, the way they think about women. But that's all that we want. Because that's all men think about is the next woman, that it has to be an agenda. But we have 50 other things going through our minds, and we come in here and give our best every single day. And that we have to overprove to get the respect that men are given just for walking through the door.
Yep.
That's exhausting.
So as we're getting to the end of our time together, what do you wish that more plant managers and operations leaders understood?
I wish that they understood that having a conversation could change. That it's not a bad thing to talk, to hear. To understand that when women come in, they're coming in to help elevate their companies, to make the money, and to be seen and heard. as an equal human. No more, no less.
Now, if somebody did want to continue the conversation with you, how do you actually help your clients, and what are you doing now in your glorious years of retirement?
My retirement from the company, but retirement from helping women, they can always reach out to me because I help them understand that they have the power within themselves. And it's about about learning who they are and where these thoughts came from and what's been actually holding you back from using your voice and being able to stand up. And when I say truth, I have a truth methodology that I help women understand the inner workings of who they are, because if we understand who we are from the inside out, we show up differently and we know how to navigate spaces that weren't built for us in mind. So when they work with me, we work on building it from the inside out. So they show up fully in their power, asking for the monies that they want to make, not necessarily always getting what they want, but not being afraid to do it. So they step into it, they own it, and they use their voice in their most powerful way. So that's how I help them. But they can work with me one-on-one sessions, or I have intensives that I do within a 30-day period, women change and they are stronger, bolder, braver, and asking for what they want.
And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is info@SamanthaKayeHarris.com. The K is spelled out, Kaye.
All right, awesome. Samantha, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you having me and me stalking you, being all your socials and everything else. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. If this conversation gave you something to think about, share it with someone else who will get it. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next.